By age 16, Jet Li had already shattered martial arts records that no other actor could touch. He won 5 consecutive national championships, became the youngest champion in Chinese history, and rose to become a cinematic icon across Asia. But when Hollywood came calling, this legend was reduced to near silence, watching studios cash in on his skill while refusing him the depth and respect they offered lesser talents. If Jet Li was that gifted, why did the system abandon him? And what price did he pay for their betrayal? The real answer reveals a side of Hollywood few dare to face. Li Lianjie was born in Beijing in 1963, the youngest of 5 children. His father died when he was 2. His mother worked long hours to keep the family afloat, but food was scarce and the future uncertain. At 8 years old, he joined the Beijing Wushu team, not for glory, but for the promise of free meals and a warm place to sleep. The training was relentless. Coach Wu Bin demanded perfection, pushing each student through dawn to dust drills that broke down even the strongest. Yet Li thrived. By 11, he was not just outperforming his peers, he was defeating adult champions in open national competition. From 1974 to 1978, he claimed 5 consecutive national wushu all-around titles. No other martial arts actor, not Jackie Chan, not Donnie Yen, has ever matched that record. Tournament footage and federation certificates from those years show a boy moving with speed and precision that stunned seasoned fighters. In 1974, at 11 years old, Li was chosen to perform for President Nixon during a rare U.S.-China cultural event. President Nixon, impressed, joked about making the boy his bodyguard. Li replied that he wanted to protect all of China. That single performance put him on the international stage, but at home he was already an icon, proof that technical mastery and discipline could lift a child from poverty to national pride. Every achievement was earned, every title verified. Before he ever set foot in a film studio, Jet Li had already set a standard that no one else would touch. Movie producers in China took notice of Jet Li's athletic dominance. In 1982, at just 19, he starred in Shaolin Temple. Audiences lined up for hours. The film earned an estimated 200 million yuan, an unheard of sum in China at the time, making it the country's 3rd highest grossing film ever. Li's blend of real wushu and screen presence was something new. His fighting was crisp, authentic, and impossible to fake. The box office did not just reflect curiosity, it proved a hunger for genuine martial arts on screen. The impact did not stop with one film. Shaolin Temple's success launched sequels and a wave of martial arts movies across Asia. Li's face began appearing on posters from Hong Kong to Singapore. By the early 1990s, his role as Wang Fei Hung in Once Upon a Time in China set a new standard for the genre. The trilogy's swordplay and choreography, rooted in Li's championship technique, drew packed theaters and critical praise. Each sequel built on the last, cementing his reputation as the region's biggest martial arts star. Chinese audiences saw him not just as an actor, but as the real deal, a champion whose every move on screen was backed by years of sacrifice. Studios in the West took note. Here was a proven box office draw, someone who could carry a film and fill seats long before Hollywood ever picked up the phone. Hollywood's bet on Jet Li paid off fast. In 1998, he landed a villain role in Lethal Weapon 4, speaking barely 20 lines. The film still raked in $285 million worldwide. In 2000, Romeo Must Die opened to a $25 million opening weekend and finished with over $90 million worldwide. But even as the lead, Li's character barely spoke. Studio executives cut a romantic kiss with Aaliyah after test audiences reacted negatively, leaving just a hug. Dialogue was trimmed, but the action stayed front and center. Kiss of the Dragon followed in 2001, doubling its budget and earning $56 million. The same year, The One grossed $43 million in the United States, enough to keep the formula going. In 2002, Hero became the first Chinese-language film to top the United States box office, earning $177 million worldwide, with Quentin Tarantino backing its distribution. Every film turned a profit, Yet the scripts kept Lee silent, relying on his fighting to sell tickets. The numbers looked great on studio ledgers, but the roles offered little more than spectacle. Jackie Chan entered Hollywood with a heavier accent and less technical martial arts training, yet studios handed him the Rush Hour franchise, a series that earned over $800 million worldwide. Each film gave Chan room for humor, emotion, and personality. He cracked jokes, stumbled through dialogue, and became a household name. Jet Li, meanwhile, was cast as the silent fighter. His roles rarely stretched beyond 30 lines, even in lead parts. In Cradle to the Grave, he shared the screen with DMX, but the script kept him quiet, and the story was forgettable. The film doubled its budget and grossed $56 million, but it led nowhere, no sequels, and no franchise. Hollywood claimed Lee's accent was a problem, but that excuse never applied to Arnold Schwarzenegger, whose thick Austrian accent became iconic, or to Sylvester Stallone, whose slurred speech was part of his brand. Chow Yun-fat, another Asian star, landed a major role in Pirates of the Caribbean, accent and all. The pattern was clear. Studios tolerated accents when it suited them, but with Jet Li, they built a cage and locked him inside. The message was simple: fight, don't speak. Studio marketing teams packaged Jet Li as a silent enigma, a Chinese kung fu master whose value was measured in kicks and punches, not words or character. Press kits for Romeo Must Die and Kiss of the Dragon leaned on phrases like lethal precision and mystical presence, cropping Lee mid-fight on posters and rarely letting him smile or speak. Executives insisted audiences wanted action, not dialogue, so scripts cut his lines and left his roles emotionally flat. Unleashed was released in 2005, and the film finally gave Lee a chance to show vulnerability and depth. In the US, it opened on a handful of screens before heading straight to video, with almost no promotional push. Behind the scenes, negotiations for bigger projects revealed another barrier. During talks for the Matrix sequels, Lee was offered the role of Seraph on the condition that every move he performed would be captured and owned by the studio forever. Lee refused, unwilling to surrender the choreography that defined his career. On paper, his films were profitable, but contracts and marketing kept him caged. The system was not built to let him outgrow the cage it had designed. On the set of Fearless in 2006, Jet Li's body finally rebelled. His back seized so suddenly that crew members had to carry him away from the lights. Decades of wushu had left their mark: compressed vertebrae, herniated discs, and nerve pain that sometimes made it impossible to walk. Doctors warned he risked permanent damage if he continued. Then a new blow: hyperthyroidism. His heart raced, his weight dropped, and exhaustion set in. Studios grew wary. Insurance companies, faced with these diagnoses, raised premiums so high that some productions could not afford to hire him. The toll of every championship and every stunt now showed up in the fine print and the bottom line. When The Expendables hit theaters in 2010, Jet Li's name was billed alongside the biggest action legends. On screen, he barely appeared, less than 10 minutes in a film that ran nearly 2 hours. His character, Yin Yang, was squeezed into a handful of scenes, his fights were cut short, and his presence felt almost like an afterthought. Rumors swirled that Sylvester Stallone was frustrated with Lee's physical limits and with the insurance headaches that followed. As the sequels rolled out, Jet Li's role shrank even further, until he vanished from the third film altogether. Years later, in a Chinese interview, he summed it up: Hollywood treated him like he was disposable. In December 2004, a wall of water swept through the Maldives while Jet Li was vacationing with his family. They survived by just minutes. The shock led him to launch the One Foundation in 2007, focusing on disaster relief and mental health. When the Sichuan earthquake struck in 2008, his foundation raised over 100 million yuan, earning him the nickname Bodhisattva Li in Chinese media. Today, Hollywood still limits who gets to be more than a stereotype. Jet Li's story exposes an industry quick to profit but slow to see humanity. Until that changes, legends will keep walking away on their own terms. What would happen if the gatekeepers finally listened? Share your thoughts below.